Say call to order really loud. So hit that. Hit that 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Go ahead. Hit it. Call this meeting. I call this meeting to order. I call this meeting to order.
Call this meeting to order.
Very good. All right.
Do I press it?
Mr. Canellis, are you able to call roll, please?
Ms. Calvez. Ms. Carasola.
Here.
Ms. Carr.
Here.
Mr. Corey.
Here.
Mr. Hayward.
Here.
Ms. Scarpelli. Ms. Stevenson.
Here.
Ms. Rundell.
Here.
Dr. Robinson.
Present.
We have a quorum.
All right. Ms. Callahan and Ms. Sneed are joining us. Would you be able to do the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yeah.
Come on, stand up with me. Grab your mics.
We have to
Take your time. Yep. Come over here right by me. You stand right in front of me. Perfect. Right over here. Right here. Come over here. Come back here. Come here. Come here. Come back to me. Face the flag. Okay, whenever you're ready. 1, 2, 3, go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. Now turn them off and have a seat.
Good job. All right. All right. Open Public Meetings Act. Adequate notice of meeting in accordance with PL 1975, Chapter 231. Notice of tonight's meeting was mailed to the Record and the Ridgewood News on January 9th, 2024. Notice of this meeting was also mailed to the Borough Clerk and was posted on the bulletin board of the Board of Education office in the Administration Building on the same date. Copies of the procedures in effect for regular board meetings are available for the public at tonight's meeting. Mr. Bengal, would you be able to read our board mission statement?
The Glen Rock School District, founded on principles of education in partnership with a supportive community, provides an exceptional education to all students to cultivate resilient, responsible, and engaged global citizens.
Thank you so much. All right, and Dr. Charleston?
Yes, so we have our board readers here tonight. We have Jolie, Dylan, and Andrew. Jolie and Dylan are in 2nd grade, and Andrew is in 5th grade. And some board members may have some questions for you. I have a couple, if that's okay. Tell me a little bit about how is 2nd grade going for you. What's your favorite subject? What are you learning right now? Let's turn your mic on. Go ahead.
I think. Okay, I know. I like math, and we've been learning about the quantity and the difference.
I like math too, and we've been learning about like graphs.
Nice. Do you have, that's excellent. That's a lot, that's heavy math for 2nd grade. Do you have a I guess, what's your favorite overall thing in 2nd grade? What do you like the most about 2nd grade?
I like naming the number, so the number of the day would be 99.
Okay.
You would write a few ways how to name 99.
Okay, good. What about you? What's your favorite thing about 2nd grade?
That we play lots of fun games.
Very good. That works for me. Do you think you need more recess in 2nd grade?
Yes.
All right, excellent. Well, the board here can make that decision. Would you like to ask them that for more recess?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
only have one recess, but the other grades have like 2 or 3.
Really?
And we don't have snacks.
And you don't have snack?
No, so we're starving.
Wow. Really? Well, your principal is here. She won't be here much longer. But say goodbye, Miss Gomez. Like you're starving them and they can't play. This is not what you said in your interview. So you want more recess, more snack time?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and these are the decision makers. So You want to ask them to make a vote on that, or you ready for that? You think they should vote and make a decision tonight?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree, okay, all right. We'll do a resolution on that later on. Yeah, you guys, you'll be heroes when you go back to Hamilton. Yeah,
Yay.
that's
There's
fair.
also how they could be heroes.
What'd you say?
There's another way they could be heroes, right?
Oh, yes, so I heard that it might snow tonight. Now, the decision to call a snow day usually falls on Mr. Canellis. He has all the responsibility. I don't make that decision. I have no responsibility whatsoever. But that being said, since you are Board of Education readers tonight and you're here, do you think we should have a snow day tomorrow?
I know how much snow we're getting.
Okay, how much?
We're getting 9.35.
That doesn't seem like a lot. You think that's a lot, 9 inches? Is that worth a snow day? Yes?
Maybe.
So, maybe, we're on the same page. So no snow day, right? We're not sold on that, right?
Yes, a snow day.
Oh, yes to a snow day?
Yes,
Okay.
maybe is a yes.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
It's
Andrew,
not a maybe, but it's more to a yes.
okay, so you're leaning more towards yes now.
Me too.
Okay, okay. I could tell one thing, that you're not being fed at school with all the cookies you have. So,
They're so chewy.
yeah, they're good. Yeah, they're the most popular thing that we sell here in the high school, middle school. So when you get here, you'll be buying lots of cookies. Okay, Andrew, I know you're on the student council over at Hamilton. Do you have a report for us about things that are going on there?
So, hello, my name is Andrew Bagel. I am a 5th grader in Miss Glodie's class at Hamilton. I am also a student council representative. I want to thank the Board of Education and Dr. Charleston for inviting me to be here tonight. The student council, which is led by Ms. Goncalves and Ms. Loretto, is working hard to make our school and our community a better place. We have done Wacky Wednesday theme days, such as Crazy Hair Day, and coming up this month, Anything But a Backpack Day. The student council also organized a way to get ready for this upcoming Valentine's Day. All the classes made Valentine's Day cards that will be distributed to senior citizens who receive Meals on Wheels. We are sure this will put a smile on their faces. We have also had other exciting events take place at Hamilton recently, including Husky Cafes, where students practice table manners, a winter concert where 4th and 5th graders in band and early morning chorus performed, and a fun science assembly sponsored by our HSA. Finally, our 5th graders have been working on a community service project to provide snack packs to the Oasis shelter in Patterson. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. You know, when I come into, you have Miss Glodie's your teacher, right? So usually when I come into your classroom, you're working on really like high-level math, and I usually leave because it's a little scary for me. What are you working on right now in math?
So we're mostly working on like coordinate grids and
That seems high-level enough for me. Yeah, like what is that they're asking? That's I don't know what that is.
I know what it is. It's
Oh, you do?
math.
It's math, yeah. So you were in math. That's fair. So Andrew, according to Jolie and Dylan, we are starving 2nd grade and not giving them enough recess. Is the 5th grade the same way, or do you feel like you have enough food and recess time?
I feel like we have like enough food, but like maybe like 10 more minutes of recess time.
Okay, that's fair. All right, so
We have 5 minutes.
you only have 5 minutes,
Yes.
and you have 10 minutes. Or you want 10 more minutes,
Yeah.
and you only have 5 minutes total.
Yes.
That seems very unfair. Okay. We're gonna make some stuff happen tonight. All right? Yes, yeah, we're on it. And again, Ms. Gomez, it was a pleasure. All right? Good job. Andrew, what are your thoughts on snow day tomorrow? I'm like, we're not sure here. We're thinking no.
I think it should happen because like I'm pretty sure all the kids want it.
Oh, okay. Do you think I should make the decision tonight? Or are you like getting up at like 5 in the morning and getting a phone call?
I think you should make decision. I think you should make the decision tonight so
Tonight.
that like kids can like sleep in.
Oh, okay. All right. That's good to know.
I
Okay. Yeah, I aim to please. So I do want to thank all of you for coming out tonight. You did a wonderful job, and we appreciate it. And we have some gifts for you that we're going to give you, and we're going to take some pictures. Is that okay? And I think what would be nice, if you hit this 3 times and say, "Meeting adjourned," so we all go home. Hit that 3 times.
Can I
and
just
meeting.
say go home?
Yeah, that's fine, too. Go ahead.
Go home.
Okay, let's go. All right, let's go take some pictures. Come on. All right.
I do too.
All right, so, ready?
All right, so we have tonight, once a year, obviously at mid-year, the Board of Education presents sort of an update on Board of Education and district goals. And the process starts at the retreat in August, when the board has discussions on what they want their goals to be for the year. The district does as well. And then the board votes on those goals in September, and away we go. And we start to work towards those goals. And so tonight is an update on that. I'm going to start a little bit. So, Keith, do we have the remote somewhere?
I have it right here.
Okay. All right. So the board has 2 goals. One is a safety and security goal, and a communication goal. So the safety and security goal, and the board has already taken some action on this, which I'll get into. But at the end of the day, the board wants to support district administration and really for security issues, whether that's emergency and crisis situations. But in addition to that, they want to maintain that positive district climate, which you'll see embedded throughout the entire presentation tonight. and then provide supportive services for all stakeholders. And again, you'll see that embedded throughout the presentation tonight. So what I thought on the next slide would be just to focus on the security piece, because the board has taken some action, and we've had some incidents this year that kind of show that our security processes and procedures are in place and work. So we've had several, and so we've had some incidents at the high school and middle school where we had to have an evacuation. We know that we had the fire at Hamilton. You may remember that non-credible bomb threat that came out of Canada through the school district that was the actual target, but happened to have a school called Central, and I believe it was the Hamilton school district in Canada. But it made its way down here through social media, so we actually had our students and staff in a hold in place. They did a great job at both of those schools. We had the bomb dogs come in, and everybody just handled themselves very well. We also provided support at AOL. They had a loss of a student, and they needed some of our support through our crisis team. So we had sent counselors over there to support their students and teachers. So again, our processes work. Our staff is well trained. Our students follow directions. Our parents, follow the rules as well. I think the Hamilton fire would be a really good example. When we had to evacuate off campus, the parents were so cooperative in waiting to get their students because the line was long, and they're just very patient and appreciative of the work that our staff did, and the fact that the students also followed the rules. So the action that the board has taken this year is they contracted out with Porzio Compliance Services for a security review. And that has just recently been completed. So we're awaiting the written report from that. Verbally, they were very impressed with our security procedures, but we'll wait until we get the written report. That'll be shared with the board in closed session, because some things are security we don't want to share in public, but some of those things we certainly can share in public as well. And we would expect that report, next couple weeks, maybe by maybe mid-March. And the draft budget that we're going to go over later tonight does include additional security guards and increased hours at the high school and middle school. Moving on to goal number 2, which is a board goal of communication. Last year, the board, I thought, was very creative in creating a director of community relations position that was shared. So that was shared between Paramus Public Schools and us. And I just thought that was creative. It was a way to split the cost in half and have a professional come in and work with the district and the board on communication and how to improve that. And we have here Ms. Hoffensberger, who is our Director of Community Relations, who has just been wonderful. She started in I think, mid to late October, and has really hit the ground running. And I'll say this, because I know that we want everything right away. When I say we, as a society as a whole, we want this, and this. And what Ms. Hoffensberger is doing is getting acquainted with the district, slowly looking at things that she thinks are priorities. And I don't want to take her slides away, so I'll turn it over to her. But we're very, very fortunate to have you, and I do thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you for having me. As Dr. Charles has said, I started in October 2023, and since then, I've taken over the social media management for the 3 district accounts that we do currently have, which is Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. In the media relations world, I've collaborated with and maintained the current relationships that we already had with certain members of the press to assist with crisis communication as needed, cover different school events, and report all of the awesome accomplishments within the Glen Rock Public Schools. I send out press releases regularly to be published, both online and in print, and I've listed there a bunch of the publications that have been very receptive and great to work with so far. I also serve as the in-house proofreader and editor for district materials. I've created and manage an archive of all the photos posted on social media. I saw a bit of a gap where we didn't have any history or archive of photos. So hopefully from here on out, we'll have that. That's stored in Google Drive, which has unlimited storage for Google Apps for Education, which we'll utilize. I've designed a Google Slides template for all of the Glen Rock Public Schools and Board of Education decks to have a cohesive look. And I've developed a new district calendar template, which is for the 25-26 calendar that I believe you've seen recently. And we've updated the social links on the homepage of the website. They were all outdated or dead links that went to old social media accounts. So we've updated those for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X, and YouTube. As for long-term goals and coming up, which we've already started, a full branding audit and the creation of a Glen Rock Public Schools style guide. A branding committee has been formed, and they're going to be extremely helpful to me, specifically in the cleanup of all of these logos. We're not changing anything. We're just cleaning up and making sure that everyone has good, high-quality logos for all of the schools and the district, the Board of Education, in all different file formats that we might need. We're going to develop a style guide with official colors, fonts, and logos to encourage that cohesive branding across all of the public schools and preserve that brand integrity. We will design and introduce email signatures for administration, faculty, and staff with those new logos once they're out there, and that will hopefully also include social media links and buttons. We will create custom GIFs from those logos to be used by the public on social media. I don't know if you're familiar with Instagram, where you can put GIFs and stories. That's what we're looking to do, and the students usually get really excited about that, and alumni. We're going to develop a comprehensive communication plan and maintain a climate of that open communication with the superintendent, central office administration, building administrators, the Board of Education, teachers and staff, parents, and the Glen Rock community as a whole. As part of that, we're going to create a comprehensive list of all social media accounts that already exist, because we need to let the public know that they exist, whether it's by school building or by teacher, administrator, and let them know where they can get their news, in addition to where they can find it on the district social media sites. And eventually, somewhat soon, we're going to, I'm going to lead a website redesign, and we'll decide if we're going to stick with the same company or go with a new company down the line.
So just to piggyback on some of the things that Ms. Hoffensberger shared, I think one thing that would be good for the Board of Education that would come in front of us is that once you're done with the style guide, I think that would be nice to present to the Board of Ed.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And then I think that the board should kind of put that in policy, right? So that we have a certain logo or a certain color, right? And those things that Tara's working on with students and staff, and then present that to the board so that we're on the same page, that 10 years from now, we don't have 17 different Panthers and different color reds. And today I was in TV media studio class, and they were working on that, and they were arguing over what is Glen Rock red. Mm-hmm. And I think part of Tara's committee is this is going to be Glen Rock red. And so that it becomes part of our brand, mm-hmm. right, is really what she's trying to do. And that's going to be through the elementary schools as well. So I do thank you for taking that on, because I think that's kind of a heavy lift to do right away, but you're doing a great job, and we look forward to the result of that committee work and sharing that with the board. I think the other piece that the board, when they created this goal, was this idea of a communication plan. I think that's a heavier lift for Ms. Hoffensberger to do as soon as she gets here, but our plan would be to present something to the board probably in April, maybe May, as an idea of this is what we're working on, and then get board input, and then continue to develop that plan. So at least we have a good solid draft, and perhaps even something to run with for September of 24. I think we can get there, but we'll see if we can get there. And then the website redesign, which we think is definitely needed. Tara's done a nice job of finding dead links and cleaning them up and moving things around. But I think overall, that's probably a multi-year project that would involve several people on a committee, and Tara would lead that. So she has some things that are coming down the pike, but I think the big one for the board in terms of wanting to achieve your goal would be that communication plan in the spring, I think would be important. And we look forward to working with Tara between now and then and presenting that in the spring. Thank you, Tara. Appreciate
you.
it. Nice job.
Thank you.
So now we jump to our district goals, and we have three. We have assessment of student learning, our culture and climate, which is actually assessment of student learning and culture and climate have been multi-year goals. So you'll see a lot of the build that we've done over the last couple of years. And then the last goal, the board has always had a sort of a financial goal, and this year they focused on an ESIP. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Van Ness and his team to talk about assessment of student learning.
Yeah, so thank you, Dr. Charleston. The district goal of assessment for student learning is the second year that we've really been focusing on this, with the goal of providing responsive instruction to meet individual student needs. That's kind of what we've been talking about for a while. And one of the things that we're discovering, as we know, we do well in our district. We have high scores and all that, but we're looking at really unpacking that and how do we meet every student's needs? How do we really get into the weeds of who needs real targeted work and all that? So it's leading to larger conversations, which you'll be hearing about in the next many months and years. But let me get through with my piece before I bring some of the other people around here. So for the district, what we did here is separated some things out and what are some of the things we're doing for assessment district-wide, and then I'm going to have each of the subject supervisors come up and talk about their piece, kind of what they're doing, elementary, middle, and high. So district-wide, we've been focusing on this assessment goal throughout the year, starting with new teacher orientation. We have our new staff for a few days in the summer, where we're talking about things like understanding by design and standards-based rubric and responsive teaching, the hallmark of what we're doing a lot of work with to really set the tone with them. In September, we partnered with Kiker Learning, which is a consultant group, and they came out, they do a lot of work with technology, right? And especially using technology to assess student learning, to design better lessons for our youth using technology. We had them out in September in that PD day that all staff were here, where they had, I don't remember off the top of my head, 6 or 8 different workshops that teachers could choose based on their interests. And then we had them back again in October, along with some other things, to make it a follow-up. So it's not just a one and done, here's some people and now off they go. So they could really kind of follow through on some of those conversations. And in a couple weeks, on March 11th, is our last PD day during the year. It's an afternoon PD day, which is generally, it is coordinated by the GREA, but we collaborate with them. And so last year we collaborated with them. It was really quite nice. They brought in a keynote speaker, and then we have a couple workshops, same kind of thing, concurrent sessions where staff can choose what's of interest to them. So we have a couple of the Kiker folks coming back to continue those conversations, keep it going for the year now that they've been using these tools for a while. And then we're also going to be doing other workshops throughout, whether they're teacher-led from GREA members, whether they're led from the administrative team, and we're working together. The GREA leadership and I are talking those things out right now. So it's going to be nice, and it's been nice working with them about that. And when we met, that was my thing, is that we're really talking about assessment and assessing of student learning and using that to drive instruction, and we're talking about culture and climate, student, staff well-being, those kind of things. So I know that they're working in that same vein too. So I'm going to move along to my first subject supervisor, who I see is waiting for us, and that's Michelle Della Fortuna.
Hi, thanks so much for having us tonight. You'll see in the next couple of slides that there's a lot of similarities. I think as a supervisor team, we do align our efforts. So you'll see a lot of commonalities coming up in our slides. So first, in the elementary schools, we've been really focusing on assessing fluency. This is our second year with updated rubrics to help teachers inform their report cards. And so that has been in our second year, where we've kind of reevaluated those rubrics and make sure they're aligned with our standards, and that we're getting an accurate judge on the mastery level of each student. Additionally, this year we started a K-5 learning team. So we meet for 3 sessions, and teachers are able to pick a problem of practice. Most of them are on assessment and instruction in response to student learning needs. So we go through a cycle of inquiry through the learning team, and that's been a really exciting way for us to engage and be collaborative. And then we'll start another cycle of that in the spring. Additionally, in mathematics, we have Ms. Hirsch, who is our mathematics coach, and she offers coaching cycles and a lot of hands-on professional learning focused in assessment strategies and assessing student in mathematics. In the middle school and high school, the high school teachers have engaged in a 3-day series of professional learning through Knowles Teacher Initiative. They've been a great partner this year. Our teachers have really enjoyed those sessions, and that is focused on monitoring and assessing student work in the classroom to respond to their needs. Our middle school teachers attended Association of Mathematics Teachers of New Jersey in the fall, and we've had follow-up webinars with them that specifically is on monitoring and responding to student work in the classroom. As we do in all of our departments, we have planning meetings. A lot of that is focused on standard-aligned assessments and looking at student work and creating a consistency in how we evaluate and look at students' mastery levels throughout the school year.
Thank you. And I think one of the things she mentioned while Sherry's come up is this meeting together with staff to really talk about assessments. We are much more comfortable now that it's fairly well normed across teachers. They're assessing more similarly. What you're getting in one 8th grade class is what you're getting in another 8th grade class as far as rigor of exams and assessment and feedback and all of those things. And it's through this kind of work that she's doing with her staff, which is fantastic. So next up for language arts is our English supervisor, Sherry Craples.
Hi, everybody. So like Ms. Alfortuna said, a lot of the work that we do as supervisors is sort of organized across the supervisory team. So like in math, I'm also working with some of our K-5 teachers in a learning team cycle. We've got some of them here tonight. Hi, guys. But really what we're focused on in this cycle of three get-togethers really is writing assessment. How do we use writing assessment to inform our instruction in students in writing, but also how do we fine-tune our writing rubrics to better meet our needs as instructors and then our students' needs as students and as developing writers. Ms. Tell, like Ms. Hirsch, also works with K-5 teachers in coaching cycles, including week-long residencies that they're doing with some of our first-year teachers now, and those things are focused on how can we use assessment in the classroom to inform our instruction. And Ms. Tell and I are also working together with a phonics committee. We're piloting new curriculum and instructional materials. We've got 8 teachers across the district who are doing that, 2 in each elementary building, K through 3, and so we're working through those phonics programs to try to find an option that's going to work for us. It involves a lot of assessment of our students, and it involves a lot of taking some time to look at that and see what program is gonna best suit our needs. At the middle and high school, we're continuing to work in my department on developing common benchmarks that are developed collaboratively across a grade level. So all 9th graders are getting the same assessment, all 10th graders, so on and so forth, that are also designed, of course, to align with our standards. I also have planning meetings with my teachers. We use departmental data assessment to inform instruction, so some of the time we spend time taking a look at those benchmarks and the results from that and seeing what that means for our students and what they need next. And then we've also developed new units and assessments for our updated contemporary fiction course, which is now our new updated senior English course. And so that currently is running at all levels. Historically, it's only run as an honors course. We've now expanded our offering for that. And so I've worked with our 12th grade teachers on developing new units and assessments aligned with those units and aligned with our students' needs in that course.
Thank you, Ms. Craples.
Thanks.
Next up on our list is Manny Morelli, our social studies supervisor.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us tonight. So with the elementary schools, we are in year 2 of implementation of a new social studies curriculum. So just as a reminder, New Jersey revised the standards for social studies, and they went into effect in September of 2022, last year. So during my first year, we had a committee, we piloted a few different curriculum programs, and then we Glen Rockified them, so to say. We use one program for K-2 called TCI. The teachers on the committee felt that the consumables, the tangible workbooks were really helpful for the younger kids. And then we have a little bit more of I would say maybe abstract program that we have for grades 3 to 5 called Inquire Ed. Both of them are very much focused on inquiry. So in other words, there are questions at the beginning of the unit that the students look to explore, and then they construct their knowledge to come up with an answer based on their learning over the course of the unit. We also have teacher leaders across the district in grades 3 to 5 that are receiving training that they then can turn key back to teachers and serve as pinpoints in each building. The other thing I've been doing is working with the elementary principals to find out what they're noticing as they go and they visit classrooms, and then therefore providing professional learning accordingly. So just this afternoon, I was over at Coleman School with all the 4th grade teachers across the district talking about inquiry-based learning, really what that looks like, not just in the social studies classroom, but we had a really nice conversation about the commonalities that they see in reading and in writing, math, and science as well. The teacher leaders have really been fantastic point people. I really love that the capacity that's been built in them is helping to empower teachers across the district. Ms. Glody is one of them. She's here tonight. And so what we actually have now is that the first cohort is training the second cohort. So I'm hoping to continue to build out this army of social studies inquiry advocates. At the middle school and high school, similar to Ms. Craples and Ms. Della Fortuna, we do have these one-to-one planning meetings. I've been spending a lot of time with my new to Glen Rock faculty this year and last year, and really making sure that we're working together monthly on course level teams. So I'll meet with all the world history teachers, all the US 1 and US 2 teachers, and I really try to bring everybody together from all levels. So we have college prep, honors, advanced placement, all in the same room, and so that way there is a diversified experience in some ways, but also it's not like just because you're taking an honors course, you're getting a wildly different experience than AP. Again, common benchmarks, aligning with standards, really been trying to focus more on some of the active learning and simulations that we're having. So 2 things that were of particular note this past fall. In US 2, all the US 2 teachers came together, and for the first unit of the school year, which really went from September through right before the holiday break, the students looked at the first 3 decades of the 20th century. So looking at the first part of the 1900s going into the Great Depression. And they put together a museum. So each different teacher focused on different subjects. So there was progressivism, imperialism, World War I, and so on and so forth. And then the students all went into the media center at the same time, and they were able to explore the different exhibits and learn about everything collectively from each other. So it was a really great opportunity for the teachers to collaborate as well as for the students to learn about these different topics from their peers. In our business department as well, we have a career roadmap in financial literacy, which has become a hallmark of the program, where students are really trying to think forward about what steps they would need to take, not just from the college and career exploration process, but how that would actively play out. And then lastly, as the other supervisors mentioned, really looking at student work in light of standards-based rubrics. We had a consultant come in May to work with the U.S. history teachers. As you know, United States history in New Jersey is required to be over 2 years, so we offer that in sophomore and junior year. We worked really closely to make sure that it's a contiguous experience, so it's not you're in US 1 and then you shift gears to US 2, so we have similar themes over the 2 years, and we have one rubric now that teachers are using in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade at the college prep and honors level. So students are, again, going to build their skills collaborative or at each year, and the teachers are working collaboratively at aligning their expectations. And similarly in business, we're doing that with oral presentations. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morelli. Next up is Mr. Valentino for science. But Keith, you're going to have to help me out. I can't get it to move.
Hi, everyone. Okay, and now to share with you our assessment for student learning progress in science. At the elementary level, we are in our 3rd year of the implementation of our discovery-driven, standards-based curriculum. We have revised all K-5 common assessments and have included rubrics aligned with the latest updates to our curriculum over the summer. This allows us to more universally and effectively measure our students' progress as they dive deep into hands-on exploratory learning. Over at the middle school and high school, I am working with a dedicated and wonderful group of middle school teachers on a committee to review new instructional materials to support our curriculum as our current contract is expiring. I have also had the pleasure of holding individual and small group planning meetings with our staff, which is designed to promote collaboration in refining our skills-based assessments and instructional delivery methods. In addition, our monthly group department meetings focus on the exploration of formative assessment strategies to really visualize our students' thinking, to inform our instruction, and just to level up all our best practices. And finally, the science department continues to collaborate on and revise all our skill-based assessments and labs with common rubrics aligned with the updated curricula, teacher goals, individual teacher goals, and of course the state learning standards in science.
Thank you, Mr. Valentino. Yep, it's still not working. You're going to have to move it for me. Next up, and last of the supervisors, is Paul Cusack, who's our supervisor of instructional technology, gifted and talented media centers, and kind of whatever else we think about handing off to him.
Good evening. Thank you for having me here this evening. In the elementary schools, this is the second year of our push-in enrichment technology cycles. So we changed the program last year. It was originally a STEM program, and with the new science program that was started in the elementary schools, which had a lot of similar activities and lessons, we went to more of a technology enrichment, which does a lot of coding and robotics with the elementary school kids. So our G&T enrichment teachers push in cycles throughout the year, and they work with the students on these different activities. Our gifted and talented teachers also work with the faculty and administration for the G&T identification process, starting with the rubrics that they use for evaluation, the testing, and then the selection process, reaching out to the parents and working through all of that with our G&T committees at each building. Excuse me. Our media center specialists at the elementary school work with the BSI math students to support what the teachers are doing in the classroom. If students are struggling in the classroom, they go through, slide just jumped, I apologize. They go through the intervention process, and if the student winds up in BSI math, our media center specialists work with them to support the students and support the teachers with what's going on in the classroom. One other thing that's not up there for the elementary is the K-5 learning teams. I'm running one. We have our third session coming up on technology to support differentiation. So as the teachers need different ways to support different students in their classes, we're looking at different ways that we can use the technology that we have in the district to support the teachers and the students through differentiation. Middle school, high school, we have our new media center specialist who started for the middle school, high school this year. One of the things that we've been working very hard with her on is increasing the amount of digital literacy and the research that we do in the media center. She's done a great job of bringing teachers in based upon what the teachers' needs are and using that space to support the students through research, what databases we have available, and really to support the teachers. Mr. Morelli spoke earlier about the museum that they had in the media center. So we want to make that a central learning area for all the students and the teachers. As the other supervisors have spoken about, I do have planning meetings between faculty meetings. We have department meetings. We work a little bit differently in my department. I have more skills-based classes with what my teachers do, but we have really gotten into developing the rubrics to establish what skills we need the students to meet at the end of a quarter or at the end of a semester, depending upon how long the class is. We've also worked on revising all of those middle school electives that we did a few years ago in the Reimagine program. We looked at what happened in 22-23, and this summer we revised our curriculum to make sure that we were meeting. Were we moving too quickly? Were we not getting enough for the students? So what we've really done this year is focused on making sure that we're hitting the points that we want to hit in the curriculum as we move through it. So, thank you very
Mr.
much.
Cusack.
Thanks,
So,
Paul.
one of the things I want to mention as he's leaving, I think Mr. Cusack is a good example of this. There was a time when, teachers needed support in just how to use technology, right? How to use a new website or how to use something. Mr. Hayward, I think you know where I'm going with this, right? And we're well beyond that. And it's the same that our teachers know how to teach English. Our teachers know how to teach math, right? It's the work that we're doing is in building a common strength across the department and a common strength across, using the same rubric as Mr. Morelli was talking about for all of 9th, 10th, and 11th grade for the writing, so that a kid doesn't have to relearn how to write every year for a new teacher because they're using some other different way. So it's a lot of that coordination of skills that we hire talented staff. We have already lots of talented staff that know how to use these things and know how to do this. But a lot of the work that we're doing as we're looking at assessment is how do we do this across the board for all students? And as I mentioned earlier, one of the things that's coming up, and he mentioned it here with BSI Math and with Gifted and Talented and all of these, the students that are kind of have some real special needs as far as they need support or have real special skills, and he has a lot of hands-on classes, the media crew that you're always with. How are we meeting all of their needs, right? And using these common assessments helps us identify and then support that. So you can anticipate next year a goal similar to this, but you can see kind of where I'm headed as far as what's next on the agenda. It's not how do we teach somebody how to teach a novel. We know how to do that. It's how do we focus on those student needs and really move that forward. So that's where we are. I'm really proud of the work that we are all doing, whether it's the supervisors, our coaches are here also, the building principals, and of course our staff that have just been really tremendous to work with. Now I'll hand it over to you, Dr.
Thank you, thank you. And, Mr. Cusack had mentioned something about the middle school reimagining plan. And I think similar to the BIRD departmentalization, perhaps maybe it's time to maybe in the spring kind of wrap it up and see where we're at and just not sort of put it to rest, but it's been 3 years and we've presented each year. Let's kind of do a final presentation as to like where we started and where we ended up. So goal 2 is culture and climate. It's been a multi-year goal. I think this is the 3rd year of it. And so again, this ties into the board goal, as I said. The district administration, right, will continue to provide wellness for students and staff. So we have, I think, Mr. Orlando and Dr. Daniels, and then I have my climate and culture committee warriors out there ready to go. So I think Dr. Daniels is up first, right? Yes. All right, good. So we'll talk about ruler, and then we'll move through this, and we'll go. Good.
Good evening, everyone. As a review, the Ruler program is our partnership with Yale University that assists our school community understanding the value of emotions, building their emotional intelligence skills, and creating and maintaining a positive school climate. As many of you are aware, the elementary school staff were trained on Ruler last year, and for this school year, the program has launched into the classrooms and is being integrated at home as well. The lessons thus far have focused on the mood meter and the various quadrants, why emotions matter, and developing their classroom charters. These lessons are led by both the classroom teachers and the school counselors. At the end of each month, a review is sent home to all elementary families, which includes the family connection worksheets and how to implement the Ruler approach in the home. In mid-April, the elementary school counselors will be hosting a mini Ruler night to parents and guardians as an introductory into the community events on a larger scale for the fall. This summer, the Ruler team will work on planning new lessons and community events for the next school year. The middle school staff is currently being trained on the Ruler approach, and they will work this summer to plan the rollout for next year.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm going to talk about some climate and culture progress at the middle school and high school, and I've tried to group things in a way that you can see how they fit together. So at the middle school and high school together, we have a huge focus on collaboration and community. And if you look at the first 3 bullets there, the advisory committee, the internal directory, and the professional discussion groups, those are really intended to increase faculty member voice and input, and also to increase our interdisciplinary collaboration. So what we've done is every 3 weeks I meet with volunteers from middle school and high school who'd like to just come and talk about relevant topics. We meet in the morning and the afternoon so that I can make sure I get a cross-section of everybody who'd like to participate. And then from there, the staff member internal directory was an outgrowth That's something where every staff member has a slide. They have a photo. They tell why they feel their subject matter is important. They've listed some fun facts about themselves, but also it's a networking tool. So they've listed areas that they can help their colleagues in. So it's been a nice way for people to get to know each other, people who haven't gotten the chance to do that before. There's a scavenger hunt coming up, so I still have to devise that, but that'll be the next leg of the internal directory. And the SKIP committee, the professional discussion groups were an outgrowth of that SKIP committee. So that's staff members identifying for their colleagues areas that they feel we should be discussing as a group. So we worked on the different indicators in the doc log so that the staff members could meet with each other, middle school, high school, in all different disciplines, and we grouped them that way especially. So again, they could start talking about what things look like cross-curricularly. If you take a look at the next few, we have the No Place for Hate initiative, and there's a steering committee for students, community members, staff members, and administration. We're working with students and staff members from Alliance, the Black Student Union, the Jewish Student Union, the Indian Student Union, and the Social Justice Club, and we're working on different ways that we can increase inclusivity and make Glen Rock the most welcoming and positive learning community that it can be. So we did our first event in conjunction with Martin Luther King's birthday, and we have event number 2 coming up that Mr. Morelli and I are working on with the group. You can take a look at some of the others. We have a student-to-student mentor program, which is where our high school students help our 6th graders with transition. They met for a series of events. They talked about topics such as making new friends, time management, things of that nature. So again, that continuum where our older students are bringing along our younger students. And then in terms of, again, that professional community, we have an English department book club. Dr. McKay has worked with bringing in co-teaching professional development so that our teachers are learning how to do best practices as partners, and so that both teachers in the room are meeting the needs of all of those students. And then we have some fun stuff. We reestablished our faculty event space. We had a wellness lunch event the other day, which was Super Bowl themed, but we have also had Halloween themed events. We've had holiday themed events. It's a way for faculty members to get together on their off time and have a time to unwind, again, meet new people, and focus on some self-care, which is also in our communications. Administratively, we only send out emails at certain times to the staff as a group, and then we also encourage them on their time away from school to make sure that they're turning off their email and taking a little time for themselves. If we look at what's going on with wellness counseling across the middle school, high school, that's the next slide. Maybe? There it is. So we have individual counseling sessions. Our 3 wellness counselors take regular appointments for long-term goal setting with our students who need that additional service. They hosted a wellness fair back in October to focus on the combination of physical and mental health awareness together. They're doing Wellness Wednesdays during high school and middle school lunch with our students, again, increasing that connectedness for some students who might be having a harder time with that. They were doing lessons with our classroom teachers, most specifically nutrition and health, teen mental health first aid. They're working in advisory, and they're also helping out with No Place for Hate. We always have the therapy dogs every other Friday, which is great. And then the ICED Club is our male-identified students discussing mental health. Typically, that's a group that is reluctant to talk about topics of that nature. So we have a great advisor who's bringing them out, and then they're working with the wellness counselors as well. We had a speaker for Red Ribbon Week, Matt Bocci, who was very well received by our high school students. And we have for the spring, Stephen Hill, Stephen Benvenisti, and Sean Simons and Alvaro Llanos. They're coming in to talk about substance use prevention, drunk driving prevention. That will be in conjunction with prom for our seniors and for our juniors. And then after the fires, specifically for our seniors, that's about the Seton Hall fire. And they talk about not only fire safety, but again, that good decision making. And all of these are really focused on that, personal development and the balance between academics and social emotional learning, specifically good decision making. Just at the middle school, We continue this year with minute meetings and mid-year check-in surveys. So each counselor at the grade level at the start of the year meets with every student for just a few minutes and asks a series of questions, connecting one-to-one with them and noting anything of particular interest, but establishing that immediate connection. And then they do a mid-year check-in and they meet with kids as needed based on their responses. They're running leadership groups across grades 6 through 8, and then Ms. Higgins is also running social groups just for grade 6, again, as part of our transition initiative. Our counselors go into the classrooms, and they've been working on lessons for respect and positive decision-making. We continue with the middle school reimagined plan with our team leader meetings and professional development for our teams as a whole to work on that interdisciplinary approach that I've been talking about. We have quarterly reset meetings. We had our first set today for quarter 3 with our 6th and 7th graders, and those are to focus on what's going well and where we can improve. So we do a lot of self-reflection there. We're continuing on with the advisory program, which is 8 sessions, focusing on respect, ownership, compassion, and kindness, and that's our precursor. I've talked about that here before, to Ruler. And then we're also working with the Travis Manion Foundation. We had a full grade assembly for each grade in October, and we're doing breakout groups for a character course in March and April, again, to work with kids on developing not only their leadership skills, but just to make sure that we're bringing out the confidence in them. And lastly, just at the high school, we've been focusing on a partnership with Challenge Success, which is out of Stanford. We did a fall student and parent survey, and we have our rep from Challenge Success coming back on February 28th to do presentations for our 9th and 10th and 11th and 12th grade students to go through the results of those surveys. We have a steering committee, much like No Place for Hate, made up of students, parents, faculty, and administration. We do individual coaching sessions with our Challenge Success rep. That's a great way, again, for us to have more student voice, just like we're looking to increase student voice. This is a great way for our students to have an input into some small changes we can make to move us more towards that balance between academics and the social emotional. We recently hosted a Social Justice Academy workshop on understanding identity and intersectionality, and we have one coming up on strategies for being an effective bystander. Again, those are initially opened up to our students who are working with us in No Place for Hate through the Social Justice Club, Alliance, Black Student Union, Jewish Student Union, Indian Student Union, and then we open it up to the rest of the student body to see who else is interested in joining us. We continue to do mental health first aid with grade 10, and that's a program in which students are trained to identify and help their peers find the right help, someone who might be struggling. So not try to take it on themselves, but we do know that students will talk to their friends first. So we're working on with them on ways to respond to situations like that. At this point, our 10th, 11th, and 12th graders have all been trained, and then we'll continue to train 10th grade each year. We would train 9th grade, but they won't let us. Mental health first aid says that it has to start in 10th grade. We have professional learning communities, or PLCs, for our teachers, run by our teachers. So you can see those few there. Those are all dedicated to making sure that, again, we're really working on this idea of inclusivity, collaboration, and community. We've returned the Student of the Month Award, which is very popular. When the kids come in to receive their certificate and their pin, they're very, I don't want to say surprised, but they're very pleased. So even our 12th graders who are 6'2", and you think, oh, it's just a little certificate and a pin, but they're really thrilled by it. So it's so nice to be the one who gets to hand those out to them. And then lastly, I've also started the advisory committee for students. I have a 9th and 10th grade version and an 11th and 12th grade version. We meet on that 3-week rotation, only in the morning at 7:15. It's dwindled a little bit, but I might have to bring munchkins or something to get them back in. But again, once again, student voice, student input, collaboration, and community across the board. So hope we've made some progress, and I'm looking forward to doing more.
Thank you, Ms. Girlando, and Dr. Daniels. This next one is members of our Climate and Culture Committee, of which I am a member of, and I call them my Climate and Culture Committee Warriors because they really come up with a lot of good ideas, and they put themselves out there, and I'm just really pleased to work with them. So we have several members here tonight. I'm going to let them introduce themselves and go over the next couple of slides. So I think Ms. Pearsall is up first.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for having us. We're several of the members of the Culture and Climate Committee. I am Nina Pearsall. I am a teacher at Coleman School. But our committee was formed out of this goal with a focus of promoting wellness of all staff across the district. When we get together, we are talking about making meaningful connections and opportunities for all of our staff that foster our own wellness. And we don't just mean physical wellness, but also social, emotional as well, as you'll see through some of the activities that we are going to talk about. Our committee is made up of representation from every building, as well as different roles in different departments, which is nice because then we are able to see a big picture and get different insight and input as we talk about some of these activities that we've set up. And it is a collaborative effort. And I would not say that that effort ends with our committee. As you'll see, we've reached out to the whole district, and we really try to listen to their voice when we're making some of these activities. So with that, we can get into the next slide, which talks about some of our activities. The first one we did was send out a survey to all the staff, getting their input on activities that we did last year, some ideas that we had for this year, and what they felt would be best. And again, we really tried to look at the data and determine what would be best for everyone. Two ideas or two examples from that. One is when we set up yoga, which you'll see in a bit. We had originally started to talk about doing that as an early morning activity, but when we went back to the data, it showed that after school was actually the best time for most of the staff, which is when we've scheduled that. Another example, as you'll see later, is our kindness affirmations, which we cannot take credit for. That was an idea shared from someone who filled out the survey. We thought it was a wonderful idea, so we just took it and set up that opportunity, again, to just create connections for all the staff and promote the wellness.
Hi, I'm Sharon Bonanno, or in other places they know me as Sharon Likes Bird Best Bonanno. Not necessarily true. But I'm here to talk about STEP Challenge, which a lot of you were involved in, and there was actually, I think, 183 members total, so that was fabulous. This is the second year that we did it. It was a lot of fun. Bird School did win, in case you didn't know. And no, it was really great. And it was a great way for everybody to get together. It was a different way to come together as a school. A lot of people went walking at lunch. I think it made people realize how important doing steps were without even thinking about it. We, as our jobs, were moving all the time, but even just taking that little walk at lunch and then getting to talk to your coworker while doing it, and bonding together and trying to win and doing the thing. But no, in reality, it was really great. Everybody who was involved got a T-shirt, which was really fun, and their overall winners received awards. And I don't know if everybody heard about, our first place winner who showed up at, I think, 4 a.m., right, to start walking, and he won with over, I don't know, it's 100,000 steps, I think.
100,000 steps.
Right, yeah. So there's that.
We
We got a little crazy, everybody got a little crazy. But there were also 3 other prizes for Best Newcomer, overall winning, and what was the other one? Most Improved. So that was really fun. We have decided, we did it last year and this year, that we're going to take off next year because it made some people a little crazy.
Yes.
So, in good ways, I keep walking. And we'll take it up a year from there.
Yeah, I just want to comment on Ms. Bonanno. She knows she can't get down until I make a comment. So last year, she was on the Central team, which did not do as well. And then this year, she went on the Bird team and had a much better effort. So that's why she has the reputation of liking Bird more. And I will also say that Ms. Bonanno would not let me beat her. I tried my best, but she started walking. Yes, yeah, she was. It was upsetting,
Yeah.
and I tried, and I was walking 30,000 steps a day, and she just kept on beating me and beating me. So I won't forget that. But I do thank you for taking the lead on this, and I agree, it was a fun challenge. Mr. Klump,
Hello, I'm Frank Klump. I'm the student assistant counselor for middle school, high school. One of the things that we introduced was the Workout Warriors at Alpha Fit Club. For those of you that aren't familiar with Alpha Fit, it's kind of similar to Orange Theory, so it's a circuit-based workout, high-intensity training with cardio and really a full body workout. So that's something that the staff across the whole district participates in. It could be up to, I believe, 24 staff members, and we get a pretty good, decent workout. If you kind of sweat next to someone that you don't really know that well, you get to know them pretty quickly, so it's a good way to know some of your fellow staff members, as well as people that maybe you don't interact with from another building. So it's just a good way to build some camaraderie around the staff, as well as we've been trying to push the two programs of the NJ Well and the Active Fit. So these are two programs through our health insurance that one, NJ Well, you do a bunch of different like paddle boarding or going for a walk and different types of things, as well as getting your blood test or going to the dentist, and you earn points, and when you earn a certain amount of points, you can get a $250 gift card, which we've already been able to get some people to earn it. And then I believe if there's a certain amount, then the district gets awarded money through the state. So we've been really trying to push staff members to sign up to that. Another one is Active Fit, so it's also through our health insurance. Basically, it tracks either your steps, I believe it's 10,000 steps a day, or if you go to the gym, you can earn 1 point, and basically if you have 12 for the month, you earn $20. You can get direct deposit, so it's a good incentive. It can track your location. My gym happens to be next to Uncle Giuseppe's, so Sunday, went to pick up cannolis, and I still got a gym visit, so it was kind of nice. So those are two programs through the insurance that are really, really good.
Yeah, kudos to Mr. Klump and Ms. Higgins in particular. The whole committee has done it, but they actually set up a table to try to get staff to join the New Jersey Well and Active Fit. And in particular, as I shared with the board, and the committee's well aware, for New Jersey Well, we need about 70 staff members to hit that. And I think we had about 35. We had an increase. So our goal is to get that number by December. And if we do, I believe we get 1% of our premium back, which is about $70,000. And we had shared that we would certainly share that back with the Climate and Culture Committee so we can continue to do activities for our staff well-being. And regarding the Workout Warriors at Alpha Fit, I have recently gone there and I worked out one day with Mr. Morelli and the next week with Mr. Valentino, and neither of them have come back again. So I'm not taking it personally, but it's a little upsetting. So Mr. Cusack, I see you there. I will see you there on Thursday. And that's not an invitation. It's a requirement. But I really enjoy that, and I agree with Mr. Klump. It's so fun to see the staff out and about and interacting across different schools and departments. So as the committee continues to come up and share these things, I know that they want to thank the Board of Ed for their support in staff wellness by sponsoring a lot of these things. So we appreciate that.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole Hirsch. I'm the elementary math coach. Thank you all for having us today. And like Dr. Charleston said, thank you for all of your support of these initiatives. I'm here to talk about yoga and wellness. And so like Ms. Pearsall said, one of the things that came out of our survey was people saying, yeah, we're doing a lot of really great things for our physical fitness and our physical wellness, but what about mindfulness? And so we were trying to think of different ways that we could incorporate that. And what came out of that is yoga and wellness with Jennifer Knight, who is a Glen Rock parent. And so like Ms. Pearsall said, we were trying to figure out when is the best time for this, and we played around with a lot of ideas, but we really listened to the input of the staff. And so now it's on Tuesdays after school at 3:45 at Central School. It gives enough time for people to get over to the building, but it's early enough that people can still get home to their families, and so it's been really well attended so far. It's been a few weeks that we've been doing this.
So the kindness affirmations, this was our first year of doing this. And again, this came out of a suggestion from one of our staff members, and we thought it was a really easy, great way. We had done it right before winter break, which, as you know, can be a very stressful time. And so it was optional if staff wanted to participate. If they did, they were assigned another staff member who was participating, and then for 2 weeks anonymously leave positive notes, Post-it notes, emails, little things in their mailbox, on their door, just things to lift their spirits, things such as like a countdown to how many days till break, you're doing a great job, remember you make a difference. And it was just a nice way to come to work or come back after lunch and something easy to lift your spirits. And it was a nice way to connect, and it was anonymous, so you don't know who it was, but you know, it was nice to see everyone's smiling face and just an easy way to keep going during that, you know, somewhat stressful time.
No, I agree. I thought that was great, and I participated in it, and I had the best partner. I don't know who it was, but every day they left me a Diet Coke, and I thought that was just great. Diet Coke, and it was like the best thing ever. So I would like to do that again, Ms. Pearsall. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Tell. I'm the elementary literacy coach, and I'm just here to talk about one of the upcoming events that we have planned. One thing we're looking to do with our staff is find a book club that generates, you know, interest, and we're hoping to reach out to like our media specialists and get some recommendations, and just thinking about ways that we can get together with people kind of like in our off time, but still to grow ourselves like in our mindfulness with our bodies and also with our thoughts. So we're looking forward to that as well.
And I'll finish up, if that's all right. So you're looking at me like, yes, please finish up. So the last two things we have talked about at our committee was a spring staff social. Not necessarily, it could be a lot of different things. We had talked about, I think there was a place opened up called, is it Pinstripes? Is that what it was called up? Something like that, bowling? I don't know what it is, but they are talking about going to somewhere, going to an event, whether it's bowling or something along those lines. We talked about having a pickleball tournament between the schools, softball game between the schools. So we're batting around some ideas, probably reach out to the staff when we get back from spring break and solidify that. And the last thing that the committee wanted to do was run another climate survey through Rutgers. The last one we did was in the fall of 22, right? Fall of 22. So we thought to do one in the spring of 24 to kind of see how far we've come. It's a free survey, and our committee is willing to put the effort into it. So we're going to talk about that some more. We'll certainly share that with the board prior to us making that commitment, but it's something to keep on your radar. And I just really enjoy working with them. They put a lot of time and effort into it. They put their names out there. They're on all the emails that go out for climate and culture. And I think it goes without saying that they care deeply about the district, but also their colleagues. And I really enjoy working with them. They're a great group. And I thank you for coming out tonight. I appreciate it. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Canellis, I think, for your ESIP goal. Not as exciting as climate and culture.
Yeah, I get to wrap up the show with probably the most interesting thing on the list. So the board last spring had identified a energy conservation plan that they wanted to look into. It's called an ESIP. It's the Energy Savings Improvement Plan. And really what it is it's a financing vehicle that allows you to take savings achieved from different energy conservation measures, take that money that's saved over a 15 to 20 year period and borrow against those funds to, in fact, one, complete the projects that will conserve the energy, and then two, with any excess funds, redistribute them to maybe some capital projects that aren't maybe as sexy and sellable to the public. For instance, things that are behind the wall, like rooftop units, like insulation, like weatherization, and try to get those in and completed on a net basis of $0, because the savings that we achieve is, in fact, used to finance the projects. So the process is pretty elaborate. We've been working on this since the summer. We've had an investment grade audit that's just about wrapping up, where we've had energy consultants and engineers running through every crevice of our buildings, looking for lost energy and looking for opportunities to save energy. We recently had our client charrette, where a lot of those results were then translated into actual projects. So for instance, one of the items on the list is a weatherization of our buildings. Another project is an enhancement of our building control systems, lighting controls, and probably the largest energy conservation measure is the introduction of LED lighting in as many places as we can. The numbers are escaping me, but I believe it was in the multiple hundreds of actual bulbs and ballasts that would be changed throughout the district. And in essence, we add up all those conservation measures and borrow against that in the form of a refunding bond. Typically, these in the past have been funded through leases, but the leasing market is not as attractive in terms of interest rates currently. And so our investment advisor is really directing us in the way of issuing refunding bonds to finance our projects. We believe that we will be selling debt sometime in May, where we will have an earnings call and get rated for our bonds, issue the bonds, and then in summer, late spring, kind of break ground on what will be certainly a 12 to 18-month project timeframe. So upcoming events for the board is sometime in March. We're going to bring the the Energy Conservation Company in, who will explain all of the projects that are available to us. We'll decide collectively which projects we are going to move forward with, and then we are off to the races. At our next meeting, you will be approving, or more like it, awarding a contract to a third-party energy engineering firm that will take the plan and test out to make sure that the savings that our ESCO currently says we will have, and then we will go before the BPU for a final approval. So that's kind of where we are. Stay tuned, and there's some information in your packets that I put in there in terms of a timeline, so you can see kind of where we are and where we're going.
Thank you, Mr. Canales. So a lot of information was thrown at the board regarding 2 board goals and 3 district goals. So if the board has any comments at this time, we would like to hear them.
All right. Ms. Rundell?
So I just wanted to say thank you to the army of people that came to present tonight. I'm always impressed when we have these presentations, and it's really nice to see our board and goal districts kind of in action. So thanks again to everyone. And just one last thing, I know we have community members that have asked for our supervisors and other people to come and speak at our meeting, so I really hope that this checks that box. It certainly did for me, so thank you very much.
Any other members of the board? Any comments? Okay. Again, thank you, everyone, for your thorough presentation today. It was well received on my part, and I look forward to any questions that any of the board members may have. Feel free to send them our way, and we'll make sure that we can communicate that to the members of our district that we saw today. All right. At this time, I would like to just take a 5-minute break for us to reset before we continue on with the agenda. So we can come back at 8:20 p.m. Thank you.
So tonight, we're going to present a draft of the budget. Let me pull it up here. And these are just overall highlights, which is similar to what we shared in the past. The board has in backup all the materials that have been shared similarly in the past, in addition to a couple other documents that Mr. Canellis had put together. Before I get into the draft of the budget, I do want to thank Mr. Canellis and his team for, I think, putting together a really solid plan in how we built the budget. It was very organized. It was a collaborative with the administrative team, and I think what was most impressive for me is that Mr. Canellis' focus was always students first, and I thought that was refreshing, and I want to thank you for that. You did a nice job. So a couple of things, kind of say this every year. Our building-based budgets are really essentially flat. It's based on the pupil enrollment when we snap or when we submit the October 15th report to the state. That's how we base it. If a school has significant increase in enrollment, we increase that budget a little bit. An example would have been like maybe Hamilton with the 4 additional classrooms. The middle school is growing by, I think, 31 students. But for the budget purpose, out of a $63 million budget, it's really negligible in terms of the overall budget. But we just wanted to share that we're not just throwing things into the building-based budgets. We do go through them. We do try to keep them flat. Some of the things that are added into or included in the budget proposal, we have 2 positions. One is a special education teacher, and we identified that as K-12. And while it most likely will be an elementary position, because the middle and high school gives us a little bit more flexibility in moving teachers around, we wanted to identify K-12 just to give us as much flexibility as possible. There are also some staff members that have, made inquiries into possibly wanting to transfer. So instead of saying it was going to be an elementary special ed teacher, we just identified it as K-12. But the board should be aware that it will most likely be an elementary position, and that is needed due to just an increase in students with IEPs. We do have a full-time art teacher in the budget. This would be specific for the middle school. It would give us an increase of 3 sections in the middle school to help address the increase in enrollment. In addition, it's an easier position to fill because we already have several existing art classrooms, and through scheduling, we'd be able to use the existing middle school and high school classrooms to fill those additional 3 sections, which would take pressure off the existing art classes in terms of the numbers, but also in terms of our other electives that we've done through our middle school reimagining plan. Every year we have unassigned teachers. So this year we have 2 unassigned teachers, K-12. The board may remember that we added this year a middle school or middle school/high school special education teacher as one of the unassigned teachers. It does give us flexibility should we get students that move in or an increase in enrollment in a certain subject area where there could be a need for an additional teacher. And that's consistent with what we've done in years past. Aligned to our goal on security and over what we've shared over the last 3 years is starting to increase our security guards. So in the budget is 2 additional security guards. These security guards would be identified for the elementary schools, which would give us a security guard at each of the elementary schools. Right now we have 2 that rotate amongst them. While the elementary security guards would be I think our plan is to still rotate them amongst the 4 schools and to have a guard at each time. There could be significant events that would take place at a school which would necessitate having additional security there. But at the end of the day, the plan is to have an elementary guard in each school. And for the high school, middle school, and I believe this is one of the things that will come out of the report from Porzio that the board contracted out with, the security assessment, was that bridge between that 4 to 6 p.m., 4 to 7 p.m. Time frame when there's really no security here. We wanted to increase our high school, middle school security guards, of which we have 2 of them, from the 6 to 8 hours per day, which would give us additional coverage. So at the end of the day, we would have 6 security guards and a director of security, which again, we've been phasing in since I first started in July. I believe we created the director of security in that November, December of 2019, and we've built this security force up since then. We also have 2 out-of-district unanticipated special education placements at, I believe the number is $93,000 per student. Again, we've always budgeted for this. This is in case a student moves into the district that we didn't anticipate that needs an out-of-district placement. So we have funding available for that. The board may remember that last year, right after we struck the budget, we did have a student move in that needed an out-of-district placement and took one of those positions. So it's good for us to have those 2 out-of-district unanticipated placements in hand should we get students that move in. Probably one of the biggest drivers in our budget is always going to be staff and health benefits. We're a people business, and about 70% of our budget is staff and health benefits. Well, one of the things that has increased pretty significantly is health benefits year over year. A little over $400,000. I think it's about $430,000 off the top of my head. And that's based on, the recommendation is based on Brown & Brown, who's our third-party benefit advisor. And we've always taken their recommendations. They're the experts on what they anticipate next year's healthcare costs would be. So again, that's a significant number from the previous year. We do have in there $200,000 as a line item for capital reserve. We do have some significant capital projects going forward, not only this year, but in future years. The board has, since I've been here, had a line item for capital reserve. So that's what we identified for at this time, which is the $200,000. We did meet with the with ESS leadership. Those are the providers for our paraprofessionals. And we did discuss some of their needs and like what would make us competitive with other districts, because ESS does cover a lot of districts throughout New Jersey. So they, as you can see there, they shared what they think the salary increase should be. But in addition, they had said that other districts are starting to give them sick days. So their recommendation was to provide our paraprofessionals with 3 sick days, 3 paid sick days. So what James did in the budget was to provide for the salary increase, but also the budget for the substitutes should the paraprofessionals have to use those 3 sick days. As of now, when our paras are out, they do not get paid for that day. So it seems like the right thing to do, which would be to provide them that opportunity, should they be sick, to be compensated for that. We do have several capital projects that we're recommending. One we've already discussed, and that was the board accepted the grant at the last meeting, and that's the pre-K expansion of $1.3 million. The one difference here is that the board should be aware that the $150,000 for the playground will not be included in this year's capital reserve withdrawal, because that project would take place in the summer of '25, so that would be in the following year's budget. We did bring in Field Turf, our architects, to look at the lower and upper turf fields. So we are recommending that they are at end of life, the lower field is. So we are recommending a replacement of the lower turf field, which is 1.1 million. This does include a 30-foot increase on both the length and width, and I had shared with the board the images of that. The rationale for that, I guess, when the field was first put in, was to limit it to the size that it currently is. And what you have is you have the field, then you have a concrete strip, and then you have grass, dirt, mud, and then you have a metal like drainage grate. So we have students going from dirt to the concrete block to the turf, and you see that in the pictures. Since I've been here, even our goals actually are half on dirt and half on the turf field. So since I've been here, the coaches, the athletic director has asked that when the field gets redone, that it would be a safer field for our student athletes to go to what it probably should have been at that time, which is to the fence line that currently exists. And so our recommendation is to put that in place. There are some options for the board. One is the Cool Play infill. So the Cool Play infill helps keep the field cooler by about 35 degrees. I don't know if James brought his thing. So James has a sample of the Cool Play infill. Yeah, it's, she's happy about that. It's based on, it's like a lighter gray color, but it's not necessarily the color, which does reflect some of the light. It's also the technology of the rubberized pellets. But it does keep the field cooler by 35 degrees. We know the field gets very hot. That is $40,000 for the lower field. And so while it's optional, we think that it's something that the board should definitely consider. We put in there lights because there are lights down there now. They're just the gas, diesel, I guess diesel lights, or I think there are 7 of them, so they are used. We thought that would at least give the board the option if should they want to go to lights. So the board's aware those lights would be similar to the ones on the stadium field, so it would be 4. The lights would be different. They would be more directional, LED, but they also would have very little light spillover, right? Because they're just a newer technology. So the neighbors wouldn't have to deal with the gas, right? The noise, those types of things. So that's an option for the board as well. We've looked into, since I've been here, trying to renovate the high school, middle school culinary room, but it always just came in really expensive. So what James did, and did a good job of meeting with our architects and the teacher and Mr. Cusack, to say, like, what are we, like, let's drill this down to what we need to make it, a good, healthy, safe, renovated place for our students. So we came in a number of $748,000. The culinary room was last renovated in 1991. As you can see from the pictures that we shared with you, it's kind of falling apart. The handles on some of the stoves are wood. The cabinets are falling apart. This is not going to be a chopped kitchen. It will be stainless steel. It will have new appliances. We'll have new shelving. There'll be ventilation. And it will still have 5 stations, which is 4 students per station. So that came in at $748,000. The 2 other projects I put in there just as informational because the board has already approved those in the previous meeting. We put them in there because it's coming out of this year's budget. So just because we wanted you to know that these are capital projects. So that's the high school, middle school roof, the ROD grant, and the Coleman roof ROD grant. And then 2 more things that has come to our attention, again, thanks to James, the hard work and due diligence, is the elementary sink and counter cabinets need to be replaced across all the elementary schools outside of the new construction at Hamilton. So what we did was we came up with a 3-year plan. So this is year 1 of that phase-in. So we're going to hit 13 classrooms at $195,000. It's not just the sinks, it's also the cabinets themselves. And what James and his team would do is hit multiple, like 2 or 3 classrooms in each of the elementary schools. And in addition, we have a painting budget as well through buildings and grounds, and then he would hit classrooms that aren't getting the sinks done. So our goal is that when teachers come back from summer, we would hope that their room would either have been painted or got a new sink and cabinet, if that makes sense, right? And then over the next 3 years, we would continue that process. The last capital project is the high school gym exterior concrete stairs. To be candid, I was not aware of how bad of shape that they were in until James brought this to my attention. We went out there and looked at it, and I shared those images with the board. They're falling apart to the point where we had to build a wooden box underneath where the kids exit so that debris didn't fall on them when they exited the lower the locker room. So that's $131,000, and that would replace both of those stairs. So the total proposed capital projects minus any options is $3.5 million. Does not include the roof projects, again, as they're in this budget as they exist. Our existing capital reserve budget is $7 million, and we anticipate a surplus conservatively of at the end of this year of sweeping in about $500,000. It may be more, but at the end of the day, if you do the projects that are listed, you're looking at having about $4 million left over for future projects, which we would get into. We are painting 38 elementary classrooms. This goes through buildings and grounds. There's about 47 left. That's an estimated cost of $80,000. And what James wants to do is have, once these 3 years are up, is then to develop a maintenance plan. So we're always updating our rooms going forward versus painting them and not touching them for many years. He wants to keep on top of it. And so we support that at the $80,000. A couple of things were taken out. The board can see that in front of them. One of them we discussed before at the request of one of the athletic trainers in the high school was to move from full-time to part-time. And so that is in the budget now as a part-time position. We did have the elementary permanent subs. We had 2 in each building. We're looking to reduce that down to 4 after meeting with ESS and seeing now that we're several years post-pandemic that we believe we'll be able to get substitutes back again. And speaking with the elementary principals, they are supportive of this. You can see some of the other things that were requested but not put into the budget. So what are the financial impacts? So we're looking at a 3.4% increase in the tax levy, which is about $1.7 million. So the question is, like, where does that revenue come from? So Glen Rock is a district that gets 94% of its, aid, taxes, revenue is a better word. 94% of its revenue come from the local tax levy and about 6% from state aid. So if we just go based on our tax levy at 2%, which is the cap, you're looking at $1 million. So we do have some waivers that the state allows. Last year, we took a waiver for healthcare costs because healthcare was just had increased by such a significant amount, similar to this year. So we have $265,000 that we're using as a healthcare waiver, which is about 0.52%. The board remembers my first 3 years here, we came in at 1.75, and I believe 1.1. Last year was 3.42. The reason that we were able to come in at 1.75 for those 3 years, or 2 years and then the 1.1, the biggest reason was that healthcare really was flat or even decreased. However, that's changed now with the New Jersey Educator Plan. The bulk of the employees, unless they get raises, they'll contribute a little bit more. But once you make $125,000, your contribution is capped. So I always use myself as an example. My contribution is capped at $375 per paycheck for health care. That is regardless of the increase in premium. Prior to the New Jersey Educators Plan, my premium went up, my contribution went up as the premium went up. So I actually saved about $2,000 to $3,000 by going to the New Jersey Educator Plan, and it's capped in perpetuity. So the board will always experience the brunt of the increase in healthcare costs because our staff is capped once they hit 125,000. Now, if a staff member makes 60,000, there's a certain ratio, there's a certain rate they have to pay. And if they get a raise, and I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, to 65,000, they'll pay a little bit more. And you'll keep on paying a little bit more until you get to 125,000. But it doesn't, the increase will not cover the increase in healthcare premium costs, if that makes sense. And then, so because we went to 175, 175, 1.1 my first 3 years here, we had banked cap. So when we didn't need the money back then, we do need the money this year. So we're proposing $333,000 of banked cap, which is 0.65% of the budget. And then we have bank cap that's expiring. So what that means is after 4 years, you lose, your bank cap expires, it goes away, and you can't tap into it. I believe last year we let some banked cap expire. I think it was about $100,000 and change. So if we don't tap into this $120,000 this year, it would expire and the board would no longer have access to it. So we suggest that we take that, which is 0.24. So that 0.2 and those other three numbers gets us to the 3.4% increase in the tax levy, which is 1.7 million. So why do we need the 1.7 million? Well, salary increase year over year for all staff. This is for myself. I see Lisa out there. It's for Lisa Tomaselli, right? It's for everyone, for Greg, and so on. That's your salary increases year over year is 1.3 million. That's already $300,000 over the 2% tax levy, and we haven't factored in the healthcare costs. You know, the benefit increase year over year is 0.4 million, 400,000 and change, and that gets to your $1.7 million. So that's where we got to 3.4%. We're not taking any funding right now from community school. What we're going to do or recommend is that we'll tap into community school as needed. We believe that's more transparent than just taking $100,000 and burying it in the budget. As you know, this year, we used money from the community school to purchase a bus. And if we had something come up next year, we would certainly discuss that, put it on the agenda, and the board would vote, knowing that funding is coming from the community school. There are some future considerations, and I had not put this on in my other budget highlights, but I thought worthwhile since we have some significant projects coming down the road. However, before I get to those projects, if there is an increase in state aid, we recommend creating a $100,000 maintenance reserve and then add any remaining funds to capital reserve. This is the last year of what we call S2, so it's a 7-year phase-in of the state fully funding school districts. So Glen Rock has been fortunate in that we've been on the receiving end of getting additional funds. Other districts have not. So we do anticipate an increase in state aid. We just don't know how much. Governor Murphy has said it will be the highest ever. So because we have some significant capital projects coming up, our recommendation is to create the $100,000 maintenance reserve and put any remaining funds to capital reserve as a line item so that we can fund future projects. Some of the future projects are the renovation of the stadium field, press box and track. Press box and track don't necessarily need to be done at the same time as the stadium field. Could be a good opportunity to do all three, but the press box does need to be redone at some point in the future, and the track would need to be resurfaced. Someone asked a question, why not do both fields at the same time? So it takes about 8 to 10 weeks to do the turf fields. If the board were to choose to do both, you'd run into a predicament because you can get to the lower field probably shortly after June 1st, give or take, but you couldn't touch the upper field until after graduation. So now you could write off the upper field probably until late September, early October if everything goes well. But if you have problems on the lower field, our kids wouldn't have a place to play for next fall. So we recommend splitting it up, doing the lower field, which we can attack or start on June 1st, give or take a day, and hopefully get that ready by early September. But we know that our students would be able to play on the stadium field and also still practice on Hamilton's field as needed. They would have a place to go and play their games. The stadium field is in much better shape than the lower field, even though we've done all the maintenance on both fields. The lifespan of these fields is about 10 years, give or take. The fields were put in 2012. The board's reminded that the football team did not start playing on the stadium field, I think, until the following year, 2013. It just doesn't get as much use as the lower field. So we believe that we know that we can get another year of our students being able to safely play on the stadium field and then attack this project in the summer of '25. The Hamilton parking lot does need to be repaved. It's not necessarily urgent, but because we did the construction there and part of the parking lot has been repaved, we did put in for a ROD grant for that. We didn't get it, but we do believe it needs to be done, and that is a future project that we think the board should consider. The Bird Playground has runoff and erosion. As you go there, you can see everything just sweeping down towards the creek. So we believe that needs to be addressed. That just is a tougher project. It's hard for us to get a true number on that because of all the different agencies that are involved in that, because there's water behind there. So whatever acronym you want to use or whatever letters they stand for, there are a couple of different things that we have to address. So that's a future project. And then we have under numbers 5 and 6, years 2 and 3 of the elementary school sink replacement and elementary school painting. We know that in summer of '25, the pre-K classrooms will open here, so we will need a pre-K teacher for the additional section. And then the board has options, because you're going to have 2 empty classrooms in one at Central and one at Coleman, and the board has options. And I shared in the last update with the board that, you could give art and music their own classrooms at Coleman, or the board can look to see if they want to create 10 sections, which would give you 10 sections for all grades K to 5 to reduce class size. The board's reminded that the district does have about $185,000 in unexpired bank cap that you have available to you for the 25-26 budget. Before we move on, I did want James to explain the maintenance reserve, because that's a new mechanism that we had our county mid-year budget review. The county had shared that they were surprised that the district did not have a maintenance reserve and strongly suggested that we create one. And I know we have an emergency reserve. So James, maybe you could speak about both real quick, if you don't mind.
The surprise of not having a maintenance reserve lies in the fact that tapping into maintenance reserve funding is very simple. It really only requires local Board of Education approval. It involves no other county approvals, as opposed to the emergency reserve that we have had, which I believe is currently sitting at $209,000, where you actually have to have the county approve the measure. They have to actually declare it an emergency, and then we may or may not be given permission to touch that money. Over the last couple of years, there has been some legislation that we're not sure when it highlights if it will be extended, but you could use some of those emergency funds for security measures. So what we're trying to do is once we get the Porzio report, determine if there are some measures that maybe we could tap the emergency fund, bring down the emergency fund, and then build over the next couple of years a maintenance fund, so that when we do have that and we seem to have given the age of our buildings, we can easily, via a board resolution, acquire the funds needed and really not skip a beat.
Thank you, Mr. Canellis. So that's the kind of the budget highlights. The board does have in backup, I believe it was a 16-page document as a draft that Mr. Canellis shared. That was something new for the board. And in that, was, I want to pull it up here. There's a couple of things that I thought were important. That's the Board of Ed packet. It has the logos on it. And if you go to, towards the bottom of it, there's 2 bar graphs, right? So the bar graph on page, as I'm scrolling down here, it's probably at the bottom. On page 14, talks about the year-over-year spend. So in blue is the current budget, and in red is the proposed budget. And you can see there's really no difference year over year of what we're proposing and doing. The biggest change is the capital spending, because we didn't do any real capital projects last year because of the Hamilton construction. And if you go to slide 15, it's really almost identical, again, outside of capital spending, in terms of the costs. So from what the board approved in 23-24 to what is proposed in 24-25, nearly lines up identically across the budget. So, and then you have all the other documents there behind you. So, Dr. Robinson, that kind of concludes the presentation of the draft budget. I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Charleston. I guess now just time for comments from board members. Yeah, Ms. Carousel.
I'm like in the sight line now. I used to be over there. Just recognizing, I guess, that, budget is a financial reflection of your district's goals and mission. I feel like you guys did a really good job of demonstrating that. I see alignment with our board goals, the district goals, community expectations, and just where we're going in the future. And most importantly, it's student focused, as Dr. Charleston said. I did want to say I really appreciated the document. The year-over-year bar graphs were such a great visual for me. I don't remember seeing that last year, so if that's new, James, thank you so much. It was very helpful to demonstrate the thoughtfulness, the focus, and just overall efficiency. It was very helpful, thank you. Breaking down just a few highlights from that I noticed, our board goals included safety and security. The capital projects address these, as well as the additional security guards and hours. We've also heard from our families in the community about security, so I think that that's great that we're increasing. And in terms of where we're going, it considers our growing enrollment, our future maintenance. I also really enjoy and appreciate the shift to a maintenance plan. I think it's super smart. And just a forecast of future costs, because I think we all know today's costs aren't necessarily tomorrow's costs, so that's just, thank you. I think that's pretty much my thoughts.
Thank you, Ms. Carosella. Ms. Carr?
Thank you for the presentation. So I want to clarify just, as I had said to Dr. Robinson, right now, with regards to the budget, I'm a soft no. I'm a no holds barred kind of person. So right now, there's things that I'm just going to be reviewing over the next few weeks. But my concerns are more with the capital reserve projects. While I do feel the majority of them, are necessary. And that was my question, why the lower field as opposed to the upper field. So thank you for explaining that, and the sense of not doing it at the same time that plays into it. But I will definitely not support lights. I want to clarify that the lights that are down there now are paid for by the soccer programs, the rec programs, and there's been huge complaints this year from the residents along Cornwall. So in order for that to have any play in my head, I would have to get buy-in by the neighbors, and if that means having public forums and sessions like we did when we went with the original lights, then I might consider it. But I think these projects are safety related and health related, so with the exception of the lights. And the only other comment I'm going to say is the 2 security guards, I'd like to see that before 4, so that we can have 1 in each elementary school, because how do you decide who gets what in a half time, and unless I miss something, and I apologize, so.
Just to clarify, it would give us a security guard in each elementary
Okay,
school.
oh, I'm sorry, that would, okay. I'm sorry, okay, so thank you, that's great, because I'm not usually one who would approve two at a time. I'm a equal kind of person, so I apologize. But otherwise, yeah. And the future considerations that you discussed, I am supporting those as well.
Thank you, Ms. Carr. Ms. Rundell?
So thank you, Dr. Charleston, Mr. Canellis. I do really appreciate how much effort and thought was put into this budget. I'm sure it wasn't easy. I also want to thank Dr. Robinson for emailing us that presentation from the NJSBA on what our role is as a board member in this budget process. It was really informative, not just for new board members, but I got a lot out of it also. I really hope everyone was able to watch it, so thank you very much. I don't really have any questions. It's a pretty straightforward budget. I believe it addresses how you continue to meet our district goals. It supports student achievement. It addresses our community's wants by taking care of our teachers, maintaining our facilities properly. I know we had, and we will certainly continue to have, high increases in healthcare costs. And I appreciate that we're not forced to eliminate programs or to reduce staff in order to maintain the standards that you've set for the district. So, and as for the capital projects, I am supportive of them both, including both the optional choices for the field, because the lights would be better quality, they would be quieter, they would be safer than what's currently down there, and also the cool play infill, I think is great. So I believe it's what's best for kids. I believe all of the projects are what's best for the kids, so thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Rundell. Nothing? Okay. Dan?
So when I went through, excuse me, some of the issues that we had highlighted that are easy to discuss, they're tangible, kind of reflect some of the issues that our town as a whole has faced over the last couple of years. The district, the school has its own facilities, own requirements, but a lot of these questions have been answered by the community. We can go down to Faber Field and see the discussion about fields and turf and light, and really understand we've answered these questions thoroughly. We're just kind of a subset within there. So I think there's a lot of intel outside of our physical borders that is going to tell us what the right answer is across the community. I'll just go out and say that lighting down on the other side of town is these loud generators you probably wouldn't want your 9-year-old kid standing next to. So there are no solutions, there's trade-offs. Not to get too Thomas Sowell about it, but there's things that we need to consider. These are long-term capital investments, not annual processes that we're going to look at consistently. So we have some not tough decisions, but things we really need to consider. Is this the right solution right now, or is this the right solution for the 10-year spend that we're going to put in? So for that, I'm supportive to see that we're replacing the field, maintaining it really. So thank you for introducing the concept of maintenance. As a school district, we're not supposed to be banking up dollars and then spending them out. The state and the county govern what we can do, and that's hard to put into one board meeting. But there's a lot of things in here that are tough spends, but necessary spends. I think we're facing, and I appreciate this open forum that we're having. We're facing it openly for the community. So thanks.
All right. Thank you. Karen?
I'll just put my 2 cents in for the lights. I'm with Liz that we really need buy-in from the neighbors. When the whole light discussion was happening for the stadium field, it was a little contentious at times, we could say, if you were at any of those board meetings. But I think that if we're going to make those lights permanent, we really need to have discussions with the neighbors. I just think that's the right thing to do if it's literally in their backyards, and just get their input and get their buy-in.
Thank you.
Can I just ask a question about the lights? That's an optional piece, right? It's not necessarily in it right now, so that's going to be a discussion, right? Yeah.
And then
But
this is the
but
draft.
it kind of is, only because if you're going to do the fields, if you're going to renovate the field or redo it, you kind of sort of need to do that at the same time, because you're going to need to run all the wiring and everything. So you either approve and I'm not speaking out of turn, I was here for both projects. So you would want to run the conduits and everything at the same time. So it's something that really has to be taken into consideration now.
I think that's generally why it's on the.
No, I understand that.
No,
but
I'm not disagreeing with
Oh,
you.
no,
I'm
no,
just
I
saying-
know, but again, like, it's, if you're talking about doing that.
It's the right time to have the discussion because we're talking about renovating the turf as well as.
Correct.
And then now is a good time, just like how Mr. Corey brought up the discussions that are happening around the town about the other fields and whether or not that they should have lights. And so I think when you mentioned generally, you know, looking at this project and determining whether or not it's something that we'd want to do now versus, oh, is this the right decision, but maybe they can make it 10 years from now, or 10 years from now, are we going to regret not having just done it this way in the first place, all at once, because, you know, we're renovating the turf. So that's, I guess, how I imagine that we come to the discussion or to come to the agreement as to whether or not we should do the lights at the same time as this end-of-life project here. But before, oh, sorry.
No more question about it. But we're saying that there'd be less light pollution, it would be less gassy odor, no gassy odor, and quieter. So there shouldn't really be much, not that we shouldn't ask the neighbors, but I don't foresee much of a.
Okay,
they should
you
be
actually,
excited.
have you been down there? I mean, the
Yeah.
lights, the
Wait,
lights are going to be
practice
higher. I mean, this is not a conversation for tonight, but this is something that is not to be, and I'm getting very passionate about it because when I was a trustee years ago, you know, we've had this conversation, and I've been at meetings and forums, and it's not something that we take lightly, because the residents have many things to think about as far as reselling their house and everything else. So while, yes, it is a huge health advantage and something, we also have neighbors and, you know, residents that we do have to be considerate of. So I just, my request is, if there is a time frame, and the project, Dr. Charleston said, would start in October. So I want to just make sure that this board takes into consideration a time frame if moving forward.
Well, two things. One, I just appreciate that we all allow each other to finish sentences and finish paragraphs, and then we, you know, will just raise our hands and call on each other and that kind of thing, just so that everyone has that opportunity. Second, I would ask either Dr. Charleston or Mr. Canellis, are you able to just give us just a quick picture of this being the draft budget and, you know, like what the next steps would be, and then when the public has the opportunity to come in and make comments on the budget?
So, yeah, no, it's definitely a draft budget. The board will, we would submit the budget for county approval in March. What are we looking at, James? March 18th. State aid comes in at the end of February, early March. But regarding the capital project, the board would want to get into the queue for the field turf as soon as possible, because if you delay that, then you wouldn't be able to start in June. You may not be able to start until July and August. So I'm not saying the lights have to be decided tonight. That's fine, but the board should make a decision tonight, just as a verbal, like, go ahead for the lower field for us to be able to get into the queue to start with that, because that's the one we're doing a delicate, as James likes to say, a delicate balance this summer, because you have several projects that are touching the high school, from the culinary room to the stairs. We're painting, we're doing cabinets, we have summer camps, we have ESY, we have community schools. So there's a lot of things going on. So it'd be helpful for the district to know what capital projects that we can move forward with. In particular, the field turf one would be good to know tonight, minus the lights.
Thank you for that.
I have a question on that. The Cool Play infill, does it use the same machine that we have currently? So that was one question I had. And for the discussion with the lights, if we can have some data as to what our high schoolers are using, are we using it at night for them? My understanding was those lights were put there as a temporary for the youth sports because of the other fields being taken off of line, and they needed more use there. So those generated lights shouldn't be there once that was my understanding, the other fields opened up. I know there's been discussion about, do we put lights there or not? That's another discussion completely, but I don't know if our high school students are using, or high school sports are using the lights currently. So if we can have that data.
Thank you, Ms. Scarpelli. Ms. Carr?
So I sit on the rec advisory board, and I have an answer to that. As far as I said, the lights are put in by the soccer program because they're the ones who basically are using, correct me if I'm wrong, but the soccer, the girls and the boys soccer use the upper field when they use the lights. So it's not, so I do not, from what I'm being told at the rec committees, it's the rec teams that are using the lower field at night. And that's why those lights are funded by those rec teams.
So I think, our district administration will also provide like just the definitive use of our students, just to make sure that we have all of that information. Okay. Yes.
Okay, well, I guess for the lights specifically, if we were putting in new, I think that would be, an issue, and we need to figure that out. If they are used all the time already and they're gassy and terrible, we're actually improving a situation, so we do need to collect the data, look at the data, and then make our decision. So I don't know that it's a contentious thing. It's a thing we need to discuss and figure out what the pluses and minuses are and move forward. Having said that, I'm in support of the capital projects in general. I think we've done a lot to move this district forward. I think facilities-wise, fields-wise, in terms of positions and teaching and staff. We're increasing special education, the arts. We're increasing safety. These are all health and wellness, right? They align with our goals, which you alluded to. And I also want to mention that, I guess, James, you've just started, really. This is your first budget round. So the fact that, we're going into this, we're coming out of COVID, we're dealing with emergencies. In fact, quick side note, I had the occasion to be at the auditorium Saturday night for a fine performance of Beauty and the Beast, which was fantastic. I was also there Thursday night for the performance of Beauty and the Beast, but that's a different discussion. At the very end, after the standing ovation, they were all up there handing out flowers and thanking people. And one of them got up and said, first, we had to practice without the use of the stage, and it was tough, but we got through it, and how hard they worked, and this and that. And then they said, we want to thank, they didn't say who, but for getting the stage working, and they only had 2 weeks' time. I thought they were going to call you up and give you a rose. And it was right there. I saw it happening, but it ended up being the stage manager or something like that. Well, either way, needless to say, it worked very well. I guess they have a line crew, I think they call it now, that moves the curtains and figures all that stuff out, and certainly seemed smooth and like they'd been doing it for years. So awesome on that front. So back to the topic of the budget. Being that it's your first year, you've had to deal with crises. You've had to deal with closings and unanticipated expenses. So the maintenance fund is also important, as you just said. And you're also changing accounting systems, which is a huge undertaking. So for anyone who deals with schools or accounting, knows that to roll over systems from one system to another is a ton of work, and it's not easy. So full credit for all of that, and other than that, I support the budget, and I think it's a great draft, and I'm sure there's things we'll talk about, such as the lights and maybe other topics to confirm, but that's why it's called a draft, and I think we'll get through it pretty quick.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hayward. Ms. Calvez, do you want?
Just going to keep it super brief, but say that I think it was a thoughtful and thorough approach to meeting the needs of the students in this district, the teachers, and the staff, while responsibly spending taxpayer money.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Calvez. Anybody else? Okay. I'll just wrap it up by saying that, thank you, Dr. Charleston, and thank you, Mr. Canellis, for this presentation. Being that I don't have a finance background, the budget is always a bit of a different language for me, but I definitely think that the way that it was presented to us this year allowed me to see just a new way of looking at how the district's and the borough's finances are spent. I think the beauty of having such a diverse board, like looking around, we really get to have quite an interesting discussion about these items and how they either affect us personally or people that we know or just the community at large and students. This is really, it's been great. And so having listened to even the district update presentation today and discussing how all of the student achievement, the culture and climate, the communication, and all of these other board and district goals are addressed, I definitely see how all of those items are tied to a budget line item essentially, and that's what I see here. So I am in support of this draft budget, and that's what I have to say. At this time, I think it would be a good to have like a straw poll of just saying, you know, so that we can identify a way to get on like a waiting list for some of the projects that are listed. So a straw poll for those in favor of the draft budget. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, 7. Thank you.
All right, so we'll get into the queue for really the field turf is the big one, minus the lights. And then we'll also start the process for the family and consumer science room. The culinary room is a big one, and then get working on the steps as well. And we'll keep the board informed as we move forward. And then we appreciate the support. And I just would again want to thank James and his team. It was really a pleasure working on this with you. And again, just to reiterate, and I think Ms. Carousel had said that, I think Mr. Hayward said that, and Ms. Rundell, it was just refreshing students first, and that's all, it was your focus, so thank you.
At this time, I would like to go, can I go back?
Yeah,
Okay.
go back to the personal.
All right. I would like to go back to the personal item at the top of our COW agenda. Can I have a motion to discuss the resolution for P1? Ms. Rundell, seconded by Mr. Corey. Any discussion comments for P1 at this time? Okay. Seeing no comments, Mr. Canellis, are we able to take a poll or roll call? Thank you.
Ms. Calvez?
Yes.
Ms. Carasola?
Yes.
Ms. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Corey?
Yes.
Mr. Hayward?
Yes.
Ms. Scarpelli?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Ms. Rundell?
Yes.
Dr. Robinson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Seeing no items for policy, governance, instruction and programs, special services, or management and community, are there any additional items in fiscal management that we should discuss today? No? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, there's two.
Art.
So in backup, we have the SEMI waiver. That's a special education Medicare or Medicaid initiative. Every year, the board waives that. There's about $4,000 in change. We have 10 students that qualify. If you have less than 40, you can waive that. It's a very difficult grant to spend down. You spend way more in dollars, I guess, in man hours or people hours in trying to do that. So we recommend it'll be on the next agenda for the board to agree to waive that. And again, that's something that we've done every year. And then in the next budget or next agenda, we'll have starting to withdraw some capital reserve for our pre-K expansion. So the board would see that. We're starting to incur some costs. And I'll let James talk about food service.
Thank you, Dr. Charleston. Our series of a one-year contract and 4 renewals for Pontonian is up after this school year, so we will be going out for an RFP competitive contract, similar to what we did with our financial system. At the next meeting, we will bring forward the RFP. We'll get the board's approval to post it, and we're hoping to get it advertised by, say, the end of the month, and then have our bid or RFP collection in that last week of March and award in April. I do know that it will be a competitive process this time, as Chartwell has reached out to us and are interested in making a proposal. So that's where we are on our RFP. On our ESIP, we talked about that a little bit. The one thing that I do wanted to talk about is not too long ago, the board approved an RFP competitive contract proposal for us to go out for the power purchase agreement, which would have provided solar. We have received those proposals. They have been reviewed by our energy consultant. However, the savings that we can achieve through solar does not cover the cost needed to install and, repair the roofs, extend warranties on the roofs. So it is a net negative. So what we are most likely going to do is to not accept any of the bids. We will move forward with the ESIP without the solar, but would then look, once we finish the implementation of the ESIP, we would then look to, once again, price out a PPA for the district, maybe scale it back, maybe do it on select roofs, maybe in the time frame from now to then, we can get some other renovations done on the roof, thus lowering the overall cost. So while solar might be shelved for the moment, it is certainly not shelved for the long term. It will be addressed in the very near term. And I think that covers everything.
Thank you very much. No new items in operations. For liaisons, you'll see an email coming from me within the next 24 hours, just to let everyone know their liaison assignments. Some have given me recommendations or requests, and then for those who haven't, I'll just assign it out. Thank you. All right, at this time, 9:20, we're going to open up public comments for agenda items only. Please state your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes. We are implementing just a timer, just so that for equity, everyone is able to hear when their 3 minutes is up, so that they're able to come to a conclusion, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Good evening. Orly Goldfeld, excuse me. That would be great.
It's open.
Orly Goldfeld, 72 Delmar Avenue. I'm here today because I just wanted to make a point. At the beginning of each of your agendas, there's a statement to the public that says that before you take any action, there's consideration and a full understanding of the matter. And that's why the public might not see any conversation that you're having amongst yourselves before you make a decision. And there have been a couple of instances when I've come up here and asked you to please have a public conversation about generally a special ed matter, that so that the public could get an understanding of what your thoughts are. That has sometimes happened and sometimes has not. But on the preschool expansion program, I remember 2 meetings ago, Dr. Charleston made a statement, and I actually went back and listened to the recording several times, in which he said that the grant would not be available for new construction, it's only for renovation. I'd heard that other school districts were doing construction, they were doing additions to schools, so I wanted to prove it to myself. I went and I found the New Jersey Governor Murphy's announcement of the grant and the schools that had gotten the grants. Elmwood Park is one of the schools, so I wanted to look to see what they're doing. Elmwood Park on its agenda, January 23, announced or resolved to build additions to 2 of its elementary schools to deal with the pre-K grant. So it's just upsetting to me that it feels like there's not a fulsome conversation or a fulsome understanding of an issue before your decisions are made. And it just happened again tonight with this straw poll about the preliminary budget approval and moving forward with certain line items before you've gotten any input from the public or had any full consideration. So I just wanted to make that point to you. And Ms. Rendell, I don't know why you make faces every time I'm up here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Goldfeld. Seeing no other members of the public in attendance tonight, we can close public comments at 9:23 p.m. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting, or what? No?
Actually, I'd like to share something, if that's okay?
Oh, yes,
that
absolutely,
right?
Dr. Charleston.
So a member of the public made a comment about the pre-K grant. So there are 2 types of grants. The grant that we applied for was an expansion grant, not a construction grant. So the expansion grant does not permit new construction, only renovation. We had specifically asked those questions of our architect. The administration and board was truthful throughout the entire process, and any illusion or alluding that we were not is really factually inaccurate. Our grant is an expansion grant, not a construction grant for a new building, only for renovation. Thank you. Oh, and also Jolie and Dylan and Andrew today called a snow day. I did not, so they got my phone and made that decision. So they are responsible if it does not snow tonight.
All right, well, we heard it here first. Thank you for that point of clarification. And at this time, I think we can call the meeting. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Ms. Carr, seconded by Ms. Calvis. Sorry. All in favor? Aye. Okay.